Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you some Millennium Fiendsmith Orcust. Among a lot of decks I've been testing lately, I wanted to include Orcust because this deck has been performing quite well. According to the official in-game stats, Orcust has the same overall win rate on ranked ladder as Dracotail at 54%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you factor in that's everyone who's playing the deck, that's pretty impressive, all things considered. We've got a bunch of going second games here, starting with a mirror match, actually. Our opponent's going to begin with a Fiendsmith line, and thankfully we've got the Fuwa and Maxi. Definitely am looking to resolve these hand traps that draw cards in a hand where I don't have any starters. Looks like they're going to end up using the Tract to fuse into Fiendsmith's Lacrima. So they are going to take the Maxi challenge a little bit here, which I've noticed has been happening in a lot of games lately. You've probably seen it in the videos too. Just a lot of opponents taking the Maxi / Fuwa challenge, which, hey, I'm not complaining about. That's more content for me, and it makes for more entertaining games just overall. Now here, you'll notice that I'm letting the Orcust resolve, even though I had an Imperm in my hand, because my thought process was to try to keep an Imperm in hand to use against the Caesar going into my turn. Here, however, I definitely want to keep them off of their field spell, so we're going to use the Ash Blossom against the Galatea Eye, and then whenever they summon Link to Galatea, we're going to also negate that with one of these Imperms. Yeah, it's weird though. You're going to notice in this video, it's all going second games, but it's also all kind of weird games. This happens every time I try to play Orcust. I don't know if anybody else has like a certain deck that's like this for them, but for whatever reason, whenever I bring Orcust to ranked ladder, I just always get the weirdest non-games. Like I'm not saying it's like I just lose all the time. It's more, I have a lot of games where factors that aren't my Orcust combo line end up actually winning me the game, like hand traps, or you'll see in some of these other games coming up here. Okay, they're gonna make the Dingirasu. Yeah, again, we made sure to negate both the Galatea Eye and Link to Galatea, which means they're not gonna have access to the Babble for my turn. Hugely important, obviously, for Orcust is to make sure that they don't have the field spell if possible. So it looks like they are still going to end on IP plus Caesar, and they're going to summon out Galatea Eye here as well, giving me a whole grip of cards in the process. Now, of course, with the Fuwa's effect, I don't get to necessarily decide which cards I'm going to keep or put back, but I really am looking to keep, in a perfect world, like Imperm plus Sengenjin plus Engraver, plus maybe an Ash Blossom, a Girsu, and like a Foolish Burial. That would be nice. Alright, so stuff's getting put back here. Unfortunately, we do lose the Imperm, so I can't just fire that off against Caesar. Would have made things a lot easier, but I'm still pretty confident that we're going to be able to push through their whole board with the... I think we'll end up on 9 cards, right? 6 plus 3? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4... Yeah, 9. Now, unfortunately, among the cards that we kept, it was like pretty much our entire Fiendsmith engine, all the monsters, that is. So, we do still have Lurie in the deck, though, so I can activate Engraver here at the start. And basically, in this kind of situation, going second, playing into a board, I'm just going to try to use the Millennium and Fiendsmith cards to push through and or bait out my opponent's responses here. So, we got the IP Masquerena, the 2 Caesar Negates, and potentially a hand trap as well. Here's one of the Caesar Negates. It's going to be used against the Lurie. So that is a negate down. We got 2 to 3 possible interactions left to deal with. And it turns out their last card in hand did end up being Ghost Spell. So that's unfortunate. I was looking to bait out the other Caesar Negate here, but not the end of the world. We can still use Fiendsmith's Tract to fuse the Lacrima and Engraver that are in our hand. Another reason why I really wanted to get to the Tract. And now we go Fiendsmith's Lacrima effect, and now they're going to use the second Caesar effect. So now at this point, IP into SP is all I really have to worry about. But I still got to make sure I play my cards right here, because if I don't, I could very easily end up in a scenario where that is enough to stop me. We're going to go for the Wedju Temple. We can place the Golem from hand as well as a Sengenjin that is in the deck. They're going to immediately link summon into the Little Knight, which I definitely wanted to see. Now, Little Knight's going to banish the Sengen Gem, but I can still summon the Golem. They're going to chain Little Knight's effect and then concede after doing so, because I don't actually have a monster on the field. So they would have just banished out their own Little Knight and Longyearsu. And it says time limit, but don't worry, they weren't, like, BMing. They didn't BM and just sit there until the timer ran out. No, it was a legit time limit loss. Playing through my Maxi and Fuwa, as well as navigating my turn, I think just drained the timer there. But very, very good back and forth. Yeah, so what I would have done if they hadn't chained Little Knight and or timed out is I would have summoned out Golem, and I probably just would have moved to battle phase and just punched over the Little Knight. And even though that means I wouldn't finish my opponent off this turn, it means I can safely make my full Orcust board, and all they would have left is the one Link 3, I think it's Longyearsu. And once I got rid of that, they literally have nothing left. Now, granted, we have to pick apart their graveyard a little bit potentially as well, but I think that game was winnable pretty much no matter what I did there. But GG's to our opponent, and we're going to go into our next game. Okay, so when I talk about loading up this deck and always getting the weirdest random non-games, this next match is going to be the epitome of that. We're actually going to be playing against my least favorite deck in the world to have to play against, which is the Deep Draw Exodia OTK. For me, Exodia has not really just been an appealing concept for like 15 years. I don't know, it's like, I got the whole Exodia thing out of my system when I was a kid, and I would play like the World Championship 2004 Game Boy game. I played a lot of like Deep Draw, or at least for whatever you could do in the early 2000s, Exodia decks with like Royal Magical Library and stuff during that time. So I'm personally pretty over it. I understand the appeal, but if I had it my way, and I'm going to sound like a Scrooge here, I just ban like the Exodia pieces, and then we wouldn't have to worry about this ever again. But I get it; it's iconic or whatever, or whatever. So, okay, here our opponents actually started to draw cards, and that includes with the contract with Dawn 1000. So that's why my opponent's hand is revealed. They can also see the card that I drew off it as well, which I believe was Engraver. But as we saw, our opponent tried to use Magical Mount to put away some Exodia pieces and find some more relevant stuff, but they end up with Maxi and Callby instead. I don't really know why they're on Callby, by the way. I don't understand the purpose of this card in this deck. I guess they really don't want to get hit with Ash Blossom, but like, I feel like if you're gonna go all in on the Deep Draw Exodia concept, you can't like waste space on, a card like Callby. And this scenario with their hand is like a perfect example of that, right? Because now they don't have anything left they can actually make plays with. They're going to lose their hand, including the Maxi, to the Into the Void. And, I mean, now I'm just full comboing, only having to play into one Callby. This is what I mean when I say, I don't know, it's a weird non-game. And that's why I don't like playing against this kind of Exodia FTK deck. There's just no interaction to be had. It's always baffling to me, too, because, like, newer players always kind of express this frustration with modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And one of the comments I've always seen is like, oh, they just play every card in their deck and draw it all and then just automatically win. But it's like, these kinds of players are also the ones who are like drawn to the Exodia FTK strategy. And I don't know, it's just like, how many social media posts have you seen where somebody's complaining about modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And they have like Royal Magical Library on board with some Exodia limbs in hand? It's just very, like, hypocritical. That's the word I'm looking for. And it's also kind of weird to me when, like, seasoned competitive players are also, like, really into it. Again, I've known people who have complained about modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Not being interactive enough, and then cheer when, like, there's a feature match where Exodia is doing really well. I don't know. I don't get it personally, but I don't know, whatever. Anyway, very much a weird non-interactive game. They didn't FTK, so they weren't able to stop us or even come close to trying. So, I mean, what else can you say when you're playing against Exodia? All right, let's go into our next game. Okay, so here we have an opponent on Gem Knight Tearlament. They're playing some pretty extensive Gem Knight packages, or I guess I should say an extensive Gem Knight package, including cards like a Brilliant Rose. We're going second yet again, and we do open an Ash Blossom. Hopefully it's going to be enough to stop them. They're going to normal summon Rhino Heart. I decided to fire off Ash Blossom here. I don't know. You can make an argument for saving it for Kit Close, but here, I just wanted to just not have to deal with it. And thankfully, they aren't able to make any more plays with what's in their hand, so that's pretty good for us. A lot of things we can do here. We got the Fiendsmith and the Millennium Engine, so I'm going to lead with the Fiendsmith cards, rather. But the Engraver is going to get hit with the Droll and Lockbird. Now, thankfully, we're playing a deck that is like completely, or just about completely immune to the Droll and Lockbird. In fact, when it comes to Orcust, it's often just going to be your extraneous engines that are most affected by it, right? Obviously, with Engraver and Attract, that's like the one way that Droll really messes up Fiendsmith. And I'm not going to be able to add off of this Sengenjin, but that's still going to be enough to get our opponent to concede, which I thought was really, really funny. Just a very quick concede here, even though I couldn't add off of the Sengenjin. I guess apparently me threatening to be able to battle over Rhinoheart was enough, or maybe they just didn't realize that their own Droll and Lockbird stopped that line. Granted, to be fair, it wouldn't have been enough to stop me completely, because we did have the Harp Horror and the Foolish Burial. Like, there was definitely no getting around the fact that we were going to win that game. But yeah, this is how a lot of my going second duels kind of end up playing out here. And this last game I'm going to show you is going to be just very similar. Yeah, the last of our weird non-games here is going to be a going second game against K9 Vanquish Soul, but spoiler alert, they just end up like bricking on all hand traps, so much like that last tier limits player, they didn't really do anything threatening during their turn one. In fact, if I remember right, they don't end up doing anything at all. Yeah, they just end up passing right back over to us, which you do just see from this deck sometimes, but no matter what deck I'm playing against, if I'm in this kind of scenario where they just pass right back to me, I'm honestly assuming that I'm going to have to play through at least 3 different hand traps. Now here, we're pretty well equipped for those. Sure enough, they were going to draw face Fulos. We've got an Ash Blossom. We still have both Droll and Lockbird and Callby as well. I could have used Droll instead of Fulos, but I also have like my Millennium Engine, and I'd like to make some use of that. Especially going second, utilizing the Millennium cards is so important because Sengenjin plus Golem plus the Snake Eyes Doomed Dragon, that right there is 7,750 damage. So if you have, like, even maxi normal summon, if you have just 250 more points of damage, that'll OTK your opponent on an empty board. So that's one of the reasons why I really like the Millennium Engine in this deck, because we have so many generic ways to access our other engines between obviously Moon going into Fiendsmith and the Nightmare Mermaid off of the Phoenix going into Orcust plays. We can afford to play the Millennium Engine in some scenarios where not every deck can. Alright, we're going to activate the Sengenjin. They're going to go for an Ash Blossom. We're going to throw out the Callby here on their Ash Blossom. And I believe right after this resolves, they're just going to concede again. Yeah, I don't know why. Again, whenever I play with Orcust, it's always this kind of thing happening. Maybe it's because the Orcust plays lead with like Millennium and Fiendsmith cards, and maybe people are just like super over it. Like, oh, Millennium, I've been seeing this in, you know, Orcust and Snake Eye for over a year now, etc., etc. That whole spiel. But I don't know. Maybe it's just people wanting to save time. Who knows? Anyway, let me show you the deck list here, and then we are going to finish this video off. Okay, here's my build for the deck. This deck is actually, it plays and builds a lot better than you would expect. As I mentioned towards the top of the video, a lot of people might think that Orcust has fallen off, but again, in reality, if you look at the in-game stats, it shows this deck having the same win rate in the current meta as Dracotail, which is a better win rate, mind you, than like Vanquish Soul K9 or Yummy builds are having overall. Definitely not something to be underestimated, and it's something I want to test out a lot more and try to get some better, like, actual games here. Yeah, I don't know, like I said, it's like, it feels like every time I try to play this deck for a video, because I've had at least one other, but I think even 2 other times, one I can remember off the top of my head from a couple of weeks ago, where like, every now and then I'll sit down and like, I'll play a deck on ladder for a couple of hours, just trying to get, you know, 3 to 4 solid replays for a video. And sometimes it just doesn't happen. Like, my opponents just concede to the turn 1 combo before it even starts, or, you know, I just get hand trapped and can't do anything. It just varies, it happens sometimes. But I feel like with Orcust, this kind of scenario happens a lot more often. But, whatever. Like I said, we were able to at least able to get a bunch of going second games. Said able twice. But on top of that, the first one was at least pretty back and forth. Even if we did just draw a bunch of cards off Maxi and Fuwa. It is what it is. Like I said, though, I think this deck is really strong. It builds very well, as well as playing very well. And what I mean by that is that it's really easy in both the main and extra deck to accommodate all of your different engines between Orcust and Millennium and Fiendsmith. We've got it all. We've expanded Fiendsmith package in the main deck, as well as like the Lacrima and Caesar line in the extra deck. The Millennium stuff's all here. We have room for Snake Eyes Doom Dragon. And this deck still also, on top of all that, has room for a total of 15 hand traps, which is quite insane. Like I said, I'm going to be trying this deck out a little bit more in the future. So if you want to see more content for it, definitely let me know in the comments below, and I will be more than happy to accommodate. But yeah, I think that is going to go ahead and do it for now. Thank you, as always, for watching. Super appreciate those of you who are watching now up to the very end of the video. Great way to support smaller channels like myself, and I just personally really appreciate you watching the entirety of my work. So we are going to call it there and move on to our outro to thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which, by the way, is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.